द्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादं सगन ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Today's verse is from Canto 4, Chapter 11, verse number 29. Let's begin now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Let's first glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. Nimganam yatha ganga devanam achyuto yatha vaishnavanam yatha shambhu purananam idam tatha Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiv narottamam devim swarsatim vyasam tato jayamudirye Shinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridayan sthvaya bhadrani vidnoti suhit sattam नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भक्ति नैष्टिकी यत्कीर्तनं यत् श्रवणं यदीक्षणं यद्वन्दनं यत् स्मरणं यदर्हणं लोकस्य सद्यो विध्नोति कल्मषं तस्मै सुभद्रे श्रवसे नमो नमः. Now verse number 29. I'll read first word by word and then verse itself. Tam enam angatmani mukta vigrahe vipashritam nirgunam ekam aksharam atmanam anvichha vimuktam adrik yasmin idam vedam asat pratiyate tamme namangatmani mukta vigrahe namat vyapashritam nirgunam ekam aksharam atmanam anvich vimuktam adrik yasmin idam vedam asat pratiyate tamme namangatmani mukta vigrahe vyapashritam nirgunam ekam aksharam atmanam anvich vimuktam adrik yasmin idam bhedam asat pratiyate tamme namangatmani mukta vigrahe vyapashritam nirgunam ekam aksharam atmanam anvich vimuktam adrik yasmin idam bhedam asat pratiyate तमेन मंगात्मनि मुक्त विग्रहे व्यपाशितं निर्गुणमेकमक्षरम् आत्मनम् अन्विच्य विमुक्तम् आत्मदृक् यस्मिन् इदं भेदम् असत् प्रतीयते तमेन मंगात्मनि मुक्त विग्रहे विपाशितं निर्गुणमेकमक्षरम् आत्मानम् अन्विच्य विमुक्तम् आत्मदृक् यस्मिन् इदं भेदम् असत् प्रतीयते तमेन मंगात्मनि मुक्त विग्रहे व्यपाशितं निर्गुणमेकमक्षरम् आत्मानम् अन्विच्य विमुक्तम् आत्मदृक् यस्मिन् इदं भेदम् असत् प्रतीयते तमेन आत्मनि मुक्त विग्रहे व्यपाशितं निर्गुणमेकमक्षरम् आत्मानम् अन्विच्य विमुक्तम् आत्मदृक् यस्मिन् इदं भेदम् असत् प्रतीयते. What word translation? Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What word? Tam, him, enam, that, ang, my dear Dhruv, Atmani, in the mind, Mukt Vigrahe, free from anger, Vipashritam, situated, Nirgunam, transcendental, Ekam, one, Aksharam, the infallible Brahman, Atmanam, the self, on which try to find out, Vimuktam, uncontaminated, Atmdrik, facing towards the super soul, Yasmin, in which idam, this, bhedam, differentiation, asat, unreal, partiyate, appears to be. My dear translation, my dear Dhruva, please turn your attention to the Supreme Person, who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position. And thus, by self-realization, you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. Purport. The living entities have three kinds of visions according to their position in self-realization. According to the bodily concept of life, one sees differentiations in terms of varieties of bodies. The living entities actually passes through many varieties of material forms. But despite all such changes of body, he is eternal. When living entities, therefore, are viewed in the bodily concept of life, one appears to be different from another. Lord Manu wanted to change the vision of Dhruv Maharaj, who was looking upon the Yakshas as different from him or as his enemies. Factually, no one is an enemy or a friend. Everyone is passing through different types of bodies under the law of karma. But as soon as one is situated in his spiritual identity, he does not see differentiation in terms of this law. In other words, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahmbhut Pasannatman Ashochtina Kankshti Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mat Bhaktim Labte Param. A devotee who is already liberated does not see differentiations in terms of the outward bodies. He sees all living entities as spirit soul, eternal servant of the Lord. Dhruv Maharaj was advised by Lord Manu to see with that vision. He was specifically advised to do so because he was a great devotee and should not have looked upon other living entities with ordinary vision. Indirectly, Manu pointed out to Dhruv Maharaj that out of material affection, Dhruv thought of his brother as his kin and the Yakshas as his enemies. Such observation of the differentiation subsides as soon as one is situated in his original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. Hukum karoti vachalam pangulangaite girim yat kripata maham vande Shri Guru Deen Taranam. Before we look at the final points in the purport, let's have a good understanding of the context in which this verse is spoken. When Dhruv Maharaj was overpowered by the mystical weapons of Yakshas, which he was fighting with Yakshas due to killing of his brother Uttama by only one Yaksha. And then he was having fight with all the Yakshas. The sages there presented, they advised Dhruv Maharaj to chant the holy name of Sharang Dhanva. Sharang Dhanva is another name of the Supreme Lord. Let's also have an understanding about who are the Yakshas. There are 3 verses in Bhagavad Gita which give description of Yakshas. One is in chapter 10, and another is in chapter 17, and the third one is in chapter 11. In chapter 10, while counting the opulences, Bhagavan Shri Krishna informs, Rudranam Shankraschasmi Vittesho Yaksh Raksham Vasunam Pavakasmi Meru Shikhri Nam Aham. Among the Rudras, among the 11 Rudras, I am Shankar, Krishna says. He's just counting his opulences. And then Vittesho Yaksh Raksham. Vittesho. Vitt means finance and Ish means controller. The controller of finance among the demigod is Kuberji. Krishna says that, and Kuberji belongs to the tribe of Yakshas and Rakshasas. And Krishna says, among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kuber. And then among the fires, I am Vasu, and among the mountains, I am Meru. Similarly, in chapter 17, Krishna talks about the type of worship according to the mode of nature. Yajante satvika devan yaksha kshansi tajsa pretan bhut ganam chane yajante tamsa jana. Those who are in the mode of goodness, they worship demigods. Those who are in the mode of passion, they worship yakshas and rakshasas. And those who are in the mode of ignorance, they worship ghosts, etc. So then there is another verse in chapter 11 about the Yakshas. Now coming back to the context in which this verse is spoken, when Dhruv Maharaj chanted the name of the Supreme Lord, he was able to come out of the trap laid by Yakshas. And after coming out of that illusionary trap, he started ruthlessly killing Yakshas. And not only he started killing, but he also started maiming them. He was not killing them. Seeing this, his grandfather, Lord Swambhuva Manu, he felt that there is a need to give advice to Dhruv Maharaj not to get engaged in such senseless killing. Swambhuva Manu approached Dhruv Maharaj and advised that it is irreligious to kill innocent people. It is not only religious to kill innocent people, but particularly for those who are on the path of devotional service, they should not engage in this kind of practice. So, at that time, Swambhuva Manu also glorified Supreme Lord in his various aspects. So, in that series of advices to Dhruv Maharaj, Swambhuva Manu spoke this verse we have we are talking about today. We are taken up for discussion today. Tammanganam Angatmani Mukta Vigrahe. So in this, in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada writes that the living entities have three kinds of vision according to their positions in self-realization. It appears that Srila Prabhupada is referring to the famous word Vadanti tat vidas, Vedanti tat vidas, Tattvam yaj, Tattvam yaj. Yaj Jnanam Advayam Brahmeti Parmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdayati. And Srila Prabhupada further writes that there are Srila Prabhupada writes that according to the bodily concept of life, one sees differentiations in terms of varieties of bodies. In Vedic history, there is another great personality who faced such predicament as Dhruv Maharaj. Guess who is he? Arjuna. Arjuna, even though he is, and at that time he was eternal servitor of the Lord, but he also had to undergo some kind of illusion. To know more about it, we will go into the battlefield of Mahabharata through the pages of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. In the Bhagavad Gita, the first verse itself says, where Dhritarashtra is inquiring, everybody knows about this verse, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yujutsva Mamka Pandavaschaiva Kema Kurvat Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra Maharaj asks Sanjay, what's going on in the battlefield? Of course, in the battlefield, battle has to take place, nothing else. But still, Dhritarashtra Maharaj asked about it. And Sanjay started giving information about the names of chief commanders from both the sides. First, Sanjay gives information on the names of commanders of Pandava's side. Atra Shura Maheshwasa Bhima Arjun Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharatha. And then Drishtketus Chekitana Kashi Rajascha Viryavan Purjita Kunti Bhojascha Shabyascha Narpungava Yuyudhano Viratascha Yuyudhano Viratascha Yuyudhano Viratascha Uttamojascha Viryavan Subhadro Dobridayascha Sarve Maharata. I'm just calling these names because these are very auspicious names. By just hearing or speaking about them, we get purified. And then Sanjay informs about the names of the chief commanders from the Kaurava side in the first chapter itself. Bhisham Brahma Pramukta Bhavan Bhisham Karnascha Kirpaya Simitinjaya Ashwatthama Vikarnascha Somadatta Istathaivcha. After informing the names, Sanjay informs about the blowing of conch shells. And first, he says that the conch shell being blown by Pandavas are of transcendental nature. Divyam Shankham Pradhadvatu. And then Sanjay gives name of those conch shells. Panchanya Marishi Kesho Dev Dattam Dhananjaya Paundraka Shankham Mahadan Paundrakam Dhadmu Mahashankam Bhim Karma Vakodara Anantam Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhisthira Nakula Sadevascha Saghosh Mani Pushpikam. These are names of conch shell blown by Pandavas. And since they were transcendental conch shells, the effect of that was that they shattered the hearts of sons of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, etc. I'm not here only to describe the battle of Mahabharata, but I'll link it with the verse we are taking up. So please don't think that I'm just gone to Bhagavad Gita. And then, after giving the name of Shankas, when the conch shells of Pandava sides were blown, it created a lot of fear in the hearts of sons of Dhritarashtra. But when conch shell and other war-related instruments were blown, there was no effect on the side of Pandava. Obviously, because Krishna was with them. It just made some noun. Sa shabdo tumlo bhavat. That's it. Nothing else. In this backdrop, Sanjay ji further says, At vyavasthitan drishtva dhritarashtan kapi dhvaja pravatte shastra sampate dhanarudamya pandavaha. From this verse onward, I'll pick up few verses and make explanation, then we'll come back to the point we are talking. Sanjay says that when Arjuna saw all this and sitting in his chariot, which was decorated with the flag of Hanumanji, he Dhanurudamya Pandava. He also raised his bow as if to shoot the arrow. And then other fighters in the battlefield, they were also all ready to shoot the fire, to shoot the arrows and start the war. But suddenly, being inspired by Krishna, Arjuna says, Sanjay is still talking, Vyavastan Drishtva, Drishtashtan Kapudhvaja, Pravatesha Sampate, Dhanurdame Pandava. Rishikesham Tadavakam Idam Aham Mahipate. Sanjay says that, Hey Mahipate, hey Dhritarashtra Maharaj, even though he was ready, but he said as follows. Then Arjuna says, Sanyorubhyor madhe ratham sthapit me chuta, yavaneta riksheham yodhukaman avasthitan, kermayasya yodhavyam asmin nane samudyame. I want to see who has come to fight against me. In this verse, Arjuna is saying, it is not a bad idea or bad thought to make an estimation of the opponent's strength and know who else have come to fight against him. So Arjuna, keeping this in mind, he requested Bhagavan Shri Krishna to take the chariot in the middle of the armies. Krishna didn't say why. My wife works in Hare Krishna school, and he says that whenever she says something to any child, the first reaction is why. But Krishna didn't say why. Krishna he had accepted the subordinate position. So he just, and also because Arjuna was acting on his plans only, which will be revealed when we take up a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Arjuna further says, Yujul Sumanam Aveksheham Yaete Atar Samagata Dhritarashtrasya Durbuddhe Yuddhe Priya Chikeshva. I want to see who has come to fight, and also to please the evil-minded sons of Dhritarashtra. I want to see who all have come. Yaete Atar Samagata. Samagata means assembled. And it is turn of Sanjay to explain, to take further. Sanjay says, Eva Mukto Rishikesho Udakeshen Bharat Sanyorubhyor Madhe Sthapita Rathottamam. Just on hearing from Arjuna, Bhagavan Shri Krishna took the best of the chariot, Rathottamam, best of the chariot, in the middle of the army. And now Krishna has started working according to his plan. Krishna is saying, just see who is standing there. But he's showing his finger, just see. Bhisham Drona Punkta Sarvecha Mahikshitam Uvach Parth Pashyatan Samvetan Kuroniti. Just see who is standing there. That's Bhisham, your grandfather. Do you see them? Then there, do you see Dronacharya? Your spiritual master. You have to fight with them and you have to kill them. Yeah, and who all have come to fight against you? Mahikshitam, other chief commanders. Can you see that? As if this was not sufficient. Now Krishna will talk about the relationship the Arjun had with the people with the warriors who have come to fight against him. Krishna, Sanjay informs, Tatra pashyatan partha pitranat pitamahan acharyan matulan bhratran putram pautram sakhim stata shasuran shusran surdhasteva senior upeorapi, who have come to fight. Just see, Acharya, your spiritual masters, your spiritual, first he said, Tatra Pashyatan Pitranat Pitamahan, Pitran, fathers, grandfathers, Pitamahas, Acharyan, spiritual masters, Matulan, mothers, brothers, who have come to fight against you. And then Putrams, your sons, Pautrams, your grandsons, and Bhatran, your brothers. And then Swirdasteva, your well-wishers, who have come to fight, and your Shashturan, your father-in-laws. Now a question may arise here, why Sanjay is saying fathers? Other relations are all spoken in plural. And then why about fathers? Everyone has one father. So my Guru Maharaj explains that fathers, brothers are also in Vedic etiquettes are called fathers. And then what about putrans and pautrans? After all, he knows his putrans and his sons and grandsons. Here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad explains that the sons and grandsons being referred are of Duryodhanas. But since Arjuna is their uncle, so therefore it is also said that they are his brothers, they are his sons and grandsons. So, when Krishna spoke about these relationships, the effect of that is seen in the next verse. Tatra pashyatan partha sarbandhanu astitan kirpaya parya vishto vishidanan idam bravit. Now seeing all those relatives and particularly his grandfather Bhishmadev and Dronacharya, spiritual master, the heart of Arjuna filled in with the compassion. Kripa means compassion. Paraya means of the very highest degree. Kirpaya paraya vishtu. Vishidanan idam bravit. Then he spoke as under. Now it is turn of Arjun who is speaking. Drishtvam swavjanam Krishna yujutsam samupastitam sidanti mam gatrani mukham cha parishushati. The effect of that is when his heart was filled in with the compassion, so he started saying that, seeing all my relatives who have come to fight against me, my limbs are quivering and my mouth is dried up. And let's say Krishna says, even though Krishna didn't, then you still can fight. Go ahead with the fight. After all, you have a Gandhi, world famous bow in your hand. Arjuna further says, Veputascha sharire me romharshascha jayate gandivam srasti hastat tvaksha paridayati. The Gandiv is slipping out of my hand. I can't fight. My skin is burning. Veputascha sharire me. My body is trembling. I can't. Not only that, nacha shaknum avastitum brahmati me mana. Nacha shaknum avastitum brahmati me mana. I'm not able to stand, Arjun says. Nacha shakna means I'm not able to stand. Brahmati me mana. My mind is reeling. I can't fight. Then another verse, and then I'll go to the last verse. Na hisyanupashyami hatva sojanam avahe na kangshe vijayam Krishna na charaja sukhanicha. I don't see any good in fighting this battle. Oh, why? What will happen? By killing all these my relatives. I don't desire any kingdom. I don't desire opulences of any kingdom. On a material platform, this is considered as a very high level thought, not killing your own relatives. But Arjuna has to deal with the situation on the spiritual platform. He was going against the wishes of the Lord. Now we look at this last verse of the first chapter. Eva mukta Arjuna sankhe rathopupavishat visarjay sacharam shapam shok samvigna manasa. Let's mark the last word, shok samvigna manasa. Shok means lamentation, samvigna means distress of the high order, mental distress of the high order and lamentation. Eva mukta Arjuna sankhe. And then as he spoke, Sanjay is informing in this verse, he just went back to the back seat of the chariot and he gave up his sacharam shapam, his bow and arrows. I'm not going to fight. Now, what is the relevance of this whole description of the battlefield of Mahabharata? Arjuna, even though he is an eternal servitor of the Lord, but he is also acting on the bodily platform. He has been driven to speak like that. Dhruv Maharaj was killing Yakshas out of anger, and Arjuna is declining to fight due to distress and shok for lamentation for his relatives. Both are on material platform, on the bodily concept of life. This situation is termed by Bhishma Pitama. This situation of Arjuna is termed by Bhishma Pitama as Kumati. Kumati, what is Kumati? Kumati is opposite to Sumati. Sumati is beautiful intelligence. Everybody can probably recall Sumati Morarji, who gave ticket to Srila Prabhupada to come to America through Vayudut. So her name was Sumati Morarji. She proved her name to be right because she gave ticket to Srila Prabhupada. Sumati, very beautiful intelligence. And opposite to that is Kumati, ill intelligence or not having good intelligence. Now, as I was saying, Bhishma Pitama terms this situation of Arjuna, which is declining to fight, as Kumati. Let's hear what, and then we'll also get to know why Arjuna was brought into this situation of declining to fight by Krishna himself. Ishvara sarvbhutanam hirdi deshan Arjun tishtati brahmyam san bhutani yantrarurani maya. He is sitting in everyone's heart. So Krishna is driving Arjuna to say these words. Now, coming back to what Bhishma Pitama is saying, Vyavhit pritta mukham niriksha swajanam vadhat vimukhasya dosha buddhya umatim arat atmavidyaya charanarati paramasya tasya me astu. Bhishma Pitama is making prayer. Bhishma Pitama, while leaving the body, he spoke 10 verses, and one of those verses is the one I have just now spoken. And Bhishma Pitama is saying, Charanarati paramasya tasya me astu. May my center of attention be drawn at the lotus feet of that Lord who did what? Kumatim arat ad vidyayash. Who arat means eradicated. He eradicated the kumati, ill intelligence of Arjuna by what? By speaking knowledge of Atma Vidya. Bhagavad Gita, another name of Bhagavad Gita is Atma Vidya. Why? Atma means self, Vidya means knowledge. Because it gives knowledge of the self. So by giving Arjuna the knowledge of the self, Lord Shri Krishna removed his kumati. And why did this kumati had developed? Swajanam vadhat vimukhasya dosha buddhaya. Because he turned away his face. Vimukhasya means he turned away his face after seeing his swajana, kits and kins, from killing them. So when he turned his face, Krishna spoke after that, as we all know, Bhagavad Gita. And then he removed his kumati. It was Krishna's plan to speak Bhagavad Gita. Not only for the sake of Arjuna. Arjuna was put into bodily concept of thinking temporarily. But Krishna had a long-term plan. He knew that there will be people in Kali Yuga who would not have knowledge of the self. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita was spoken more for people like me and many others who had no knowledge about the self, the knowledge of the self before I picked up Bhagavad Gita. So this Bhagavad Gita will eradicate in thousands of years to come for anyone who will read it. Now we see that Dhruv Maharaj was considering Yakshas as his enemies and Uttam as his brother. And Srila Prabhupada, in the end of purport, Srila Prabhupada also writes, indirectly, Manu pointed out to Dhruva Maharaj that out of material affection, Dhruv thought of his brother as his kins and Yakshas as his enemies. So now let's have a quick look at the similarities and difference between the situation of Arjuna as well as Dhruv. Dhruv was killing people out of anger. Anger is a product of material nature. And Arjuna is declining to fight. Dhruv Maharaj is fighting. Arjuna is declining to fight. But the causes of both are same. One is doing out of anger, other is doing on account of lamentation and distress. Arjuna is not going as per the directions of the Lord. Lord wanted the war. He wanted paritranayam sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam. He wanted to kill miscreants. So in this way, we see there is a similarity as well as difference. Now, to come out of the bodily concept of life, what is the way out? This has already been discussed in this chapter only, in verse number 13 and 14. Swambhuva Manu has already informed about this. Titiksha karunya maitriya chakila jantishu samatvena cha sarvatma bhagavan suparsidati samprasanne bhagavati purushaya prakritayir gunai vivukto jeev nirmukto brahma nirvanam rachati. Swambhuva Manu says that if you want to come out of this bodily concept of life, you have to develop these qualities which are titikshaya. You have to learn to be tolerant. And then karunikya. You should, Swambhuva Manu is advising Dhruva Maharaj that you should be compassionate. Karunikya. Maitreya, friendlyship, Chakhil Jantushu, to all the living beings. The word is not used Manusheshu. Manusheshu means human beings. It said all the living beings. And that Samatvena Chasarvatma, have equal vision towards all the living beings. Bhagavan Suprasidhati. Bhagavan Shri Krishna, he gets satisfied if someone has these four qualities. Titikshva, Karunya, Maitreya, and Samatvena. Equality, friendship, compassion, and tolerance. This is also repeated in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 13. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshnayam vinashastama vinashastam yah pashyati sapashyati. Someone may raise a question that is it easy to change your situation or your outlook? Can you develop these so quickly? You can be tolerant. It's easy to say, but hard to follow. If in the evening or in the daytime, even if I keep on repeating, I'm talking of myself only. If I keep on repeating this verse innumerable times, but in the evening, if I see someone who has not greeted me, I'll feel, oh, why has he not greeted me today? Such is the pathetic situation of a person like me. It is very difficult to overcome these bad habits. And then what is the way out? We have already recognized that the opposite to these qualities are products of material energy, Maya. Then how do we overcome them? This question is raised by Nimi Maharaj in 11th canto to Navyogendras. And this particular question, that how to overcome the effect of Maya, is addressed to Prabuddhaji. And the verse says, Yaitam Aishwarim Mayam Dustaram Akritatmi Tarante Anja Sthul Diyo Maharishe Idam Uchatam. Hey Maharishe, hey great sage, please tell how to overcome Dustaram, how to overcome this insurmountable effect of material energy, so that one, and particularly for one who is akritatbhi, who has no idea about the self-control, who has no self-control, akritatbhi, tarante anja sthul diyo, and sthul diyo means he is having thick intelligence. How can he easily, tarante, cross over? He can easily cross over. Then Prabuddhaji gives answer how to overcome this. Tasmat gurum parpadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam shabde parecha nishnatam brahmanya upcham ashrayam. You have to take, Prabhuji is answering to Nimi Maharaj, you have to take shelter of the Guru. Tasmat gurum parpadyeta. Jigyasu, who is inquisitive. Someone who is living life like just every day passing, not for him, but who is more interested in knowing the intricacies of life, who wants to know his destination, where has he come from as well. And he has to take shelter. Tasmat gurum parpadyeta. You have to surrender to the Guru. And then what will happen? Then Guru will give you knowledge by which your difficulties will be eradicated. So, yesterday I was hearing Dharmsetu Prabhu. he very nicely elaborated on how to follow the instructions of Guru and how to achieve perfection in this life. So we all pray to Shri Radha Gidhali, Shri Radha Gidhalji, that we develop attitude and right attitude to serve our Guru Maharaj and get instructions from him, so that we also can develop Titiksha, Karunika, Metta, Chakil, Jantishu. So I think I'm coming closer to the end. Now, this couple of takeaway from what we can learn from this verse, that of course we must always follow the instructions of our Guru Maharaj, and we should also always remain in devotional service. And I will end up with a verse from Shri Shukdev Swami from Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because this is a very auspicious Sunday. What is so great about it? It has come immediately after Balram Day's appearance, and it is before the Janmashtami. So therefore it is auspicious. There is no other reason. So I will recite one verse. Aho bhagyam nanda gop vrajokasam yan mitram paramanandam purmbaram sanatanam. Aho bhagyam nanda gop vrajokasam yan mitram paramanandam purmbaram sanatanam. How glorious, how fortunate are the people of Vrajabhumi. First, how glorious or how fortunate, twice it is said, Aho Bhagyam, Aho Bhagyam. Nanda Maharaj, in whose home Krishna has appeared, and then Gopal, all the friends of Krishna, and then residents of all Vraja. Why? Yan Mitram Paramanandam, whose friend is Paramanand. Paramanand means completely, transcendently blissful personality has appeared. Purna Brahma Sanatanam, his Supreme Lord and Eternal Supreme Lord. So we also pray on this occasion that we may also get an opportunity to be dust in the Brahmabhumi, so that these great personality can walk over on us and we can also be purified. With that, I end here. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any point or anything to add, those who are listening to me online, they can address their question to Nandraj Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Seems that there's a few examples we hear of people who see Krishna and associates of Krishna, but they seem to act in a way that they're influenced by life. And often you hear there's a reason why Krishna Maharaj can overcome my thirst and hunger and need to curse it's the Bhagavatam as well. So I was wondering if I can't believe if you're reading this in the Bible. Krishna Maharaj was addicted to find thought productions. Why it is that he seems to be in this situation.
Thank you, Prabhu, for asking this question. Your question is that why Dhruv Maharaj, in spite of the fact that Dhruv Maharaj had seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord has also touched his conch shell on his head. And then your question is as to why he was put into that kind of situation. Bhisham Pitama and Kunti Maharani also says in different verses that it is very hard to understand the plans of the Lord. Sometimes he does an act which from material vision appears to be unfavorable. But when we further go and we try to understand through the teachings of Guru Maharaj, then we understand that, yeah, it's very difficult to understand the plans of Krishna. Now, similarly, one may raise a question that in the case of Arjuna, he is an eternal associate of the Lord. And we, every day in the morning, we chant Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidanand Vigraha. Satchit Anand Vigraha is Krishna, and so are his associates. Now, how can Arjuna also be put into temporary illusion? But in this instance, we could understand that Krishna had a long-term plan. He had to speak Bhagavad Gita. And that Bhagavad Gita is so important in our life that we all have come into Krishna consciousness. At some stage, we have read Bhagavad Gita and appreciated the contents. So in the case of Arjuna, it is understandable. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, I'll attribute one reason. Maybe Swambhu Manu wanted to glorify the Lord. Swambhu Manu was also an incarnation of the Lord. So Swambhu Manu also got the opportunity to glorify the Lord and also give us valuable instructions through Dhruva Maharaj to us. Like this appears to be a very simple verse. It has appeared in different, with little change in elsewhere in Bhagavatam, Titikshya Karmika Natya Chakil Jantishu. When sadhu's qualities are counted, similar kind of words are used in the verse. So in this incident, the instructions are being passed on to us, like to Anadi Mohan, be Titikshya, be tolerant, be Karnika, be compassionate. So similarly, it appears that I'm just possibly speculating that the instructions are being given to us. And also one more reason which I can say with certainty that I understood from my Guru Maharaj. In Bhagavatam, there are various episodes which eventually drive to one direction only, that is worship of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, then a question may be asked that why different incident, different episode in relation to different personalities are being spoken. In maybe one chapter, it could have been said that, taking one example, that you do the worship of the Supreme Lord. But if you look at Prahlad Maharaj, if you look at Dhruva Maharaj, if you look at Nimi Maharaj, all they are leading to one conclusion, that we have to engage ourselves in the loving, transcendental, devotional service of the Lord. So why different incidents are quoted? The answer comes from my Guru Maharaj, says that we all have different understanding, different level of education. It is possible that one incident may touch me and I come on the right path. But it is possible that incident may not touch another person. So he will be more influenced by the story of Prahlad Maharaj, or someone else may be inspired by another story. So it appears that Swambhuva Manu wanted to glorify the Lord, and he took this opportunity, and Dhruva Maharaj was put into temporary illusion, although there is no possibility for a person who has already seen the Supreme Lord, and not only seen, but he also got the blessings. That's all I can say. If you think that is appropriate. Is there any other comment, or shall we conclude it? Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you very much for being here and tolerantly listening to me. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.